Hey guys, alright, this is a contest entry for VINCRU12000. Okay, check out his channel. A lot of great prizes and stuff. I've been catching up on his videos. He shows a lot of great older books and stuff. I got a feeling we're around the same age because he gave examples of books and storylines that he would have put in this contest, that matched, a couple matched mine and stuff. So there's no doubt, he's probably, a little bit older than me probably. But anyway, but there were three parts of it, and if I remember right, it was storylines of comic storylines and stuff that kind of kept you in the collecting, and I don't, probably your favorites, or kept you in the comic hobby here. There's some second part was some shout outs to three people who might need a little more recognition for the great work that they do on their channels. And then the third part was the history of your moniker and stuff. So I'm going to kind of mix it up so I pulled out a bunch of stuff. Asking me about favorite storylines and stuff is just not the way to go, or it's exactly the way to go, because I can go on and on. So three people that I think really need some recognition, that I enjoy their stuff, is Roger69501, LahRasa, and Gimpy. I think his number is 204. Gimpy, and I'll put the links down below there. And I just picked the three that popped in my head. There's tons of people I'd like to give shout outs to. Alright, the moniker for Howlermouse, right? There's a whole end part of this that I'm not going to tell because I'm just going to say it was an adult situation. And it involved a very sinister cat that didn't like me. Let's leave it at that. But leading up to where the actual name came from is I was in my early 20s. I worked at a group home with adults with mental retardation. Okay, this is where they lived. You had a living room, a kitchen, then you had two hallways for the, one for the females, one for the males. They all had their own room. Each one had a bathroom, and I grabbed every shift I could back then. Okay, I was out of school. I was single. I would do it. And you had three major. You had a variation of shifts, man. But the ones I usually ended up working were 3 in the afternoon to 11. Night shift came in and did 11 to 9, and then somebody would come in the morning from 7 to 9 to help get all these people ready to go to the workshop and all that stuff, right? And I did I was doing a bunch of 3 to 11s, and the night shift guy, I don't know if he was having marital problems or having a baby or something was going on. I mean, this is going back 20 years, close to it now. And I was taking them. I was working 3 to 11, then I worked 11 to 9. I'd come in and do it. I mean, I was a zombie and all this stuff. I did so many that finally somebody the assistant manager called her son to come pick me up because I was in no shape to drive and all that stuff. And which was good because when I got in the car, I'd fell asleep and didn't even know it, and I thought this little miniature Lassie dog was jumping in my face, and he thought I was having a seizure. In my dream, a dog was looking in my face, and I was trying to get it down, and he had to wake me up, and I didn't know I fell asleep. I thought I was in his car, and this dog was just looking in my face, which is hilarious. Anyway, so while I was doing one of these night shifts, everybody's asleep, and you got a list of chores to do on certain days of the week, to have something to do there, wax some floors, whatever, towels, laundry, who knows, and all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot back then. And, and they had this big, huge satellite, and you never knew what you were going to find. And I remember I would keep it on just to have a little background noise and stuff, wouldn't be too loud. And I had it on ECW Wrestling, of all things, but, I wouldn't sit down and watch it, I'd just kind of listen to it and stuff, and I'd have usually, except for this one night, I'd have a VHS tape and I would record the wrestling. I still have some of the tapes from back then. But all of a sudden, man, it got real quiet, and I missed all the wrestling, I guess. And I come in the living room with the TV's on, and they're showing this mouse. And this mouse is out in the desert. It looks like a little field mouse, and it's out in the desert. And they got a point of view camera where it's going down like it's it's tracking something, and it says this is the only mouse in North America that's a meat eater, and it showed a bunch of them. And then it showed this one just grab a freaking huge locust grasshopper, man, and started biting into it and stuff. And then it climbs on a rock and it howls like the moon. And I found it on YouTube finally. It ended up being a National Geographic special. But the kicker of it was that I didn't know what it was called, man. So somewhere along the line, I thought it was called a howling mouse, Howlermouse, howling mouse. Because they were talking about how it howls at the moon, and it was like this little squeak, man. It was on this little rock, and the moon was right there, and it's squeaking at the moon. So I started telling people about this. I'm like, have you heard of this? Have you seen this? Do you watch National Geographic and all this stuff, And everybody was just, I mean, I got anywhere from like 12 to 15 people. I think I had up to 20 people looking for this thing. And we're talking, this went on for years. Years, all right? This is pre-internet days. Years. It would come up, or it would die down, and everybody like, hey, did you ever find this thing? And they got obsessed about it, and I was right there with them. Internet pops up. And back then, message boards and all this stuff was so different. I think I found something through Yahoo, and I don't know, but somewhere along the line, I finally found something, and I just typed in, anybody seen this kind of mouse, and talked about it being like a wolf, and how I thought it was called a howling mouse or a howler mouse or something. And finally, this lady popped up and said, well, that's just that's just great, but what you're talking about is a grasshopper mouse. Grasshopper mouse. The most vicious, man-eating rodent in the animal kingdom that looks the most innocent and everything like that. And they name it grasshopper mouse. I guess it's what it eats. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so I told a few people, and we knew not to tell 2 or 3 other people, because we had gone so long without telling them they would flip out that we didn't tell them. And seriously, up until about 2003, 2004, I remember I was still married. People were still asking about it, and I didn't know what to say. Man, I mean, you really had to see the situation. So after, we told, but in that time, I had a little situation with involved a girlfriend, a sinister cat, and all my friends in another room hearing me scream that, Howlermouse ended up sticking. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. So now on to the main part of the contest, storylines, comics that kind of kept you in the hobby, and I can't remember how he worded it. And I've got a bunch here, so I'm going to go through them pretty quick. Like I said, that's either the wrong thing to ask me or the right thing to ask me, but do not want to make a big long video. And as I answer my phone, I'll be right back. Alright. So, anyway, back to some stories. Let's just jump in there, alright? Okay, so, kind of put these sort of in chronological order. Like I said, there's a bunch. We'll just get through them. I don't know what we will say and won't say. Alright. There's a long story, and I still need about 1 or 2 more parts of this that ran through the Fantastic Four in '79. And it went on for quite a while, man. I've got 208 through about 214 on here. And I've been trying to collect this whole thing, but I've ended up picking up doubles here and there, right? So basically what happened is the Sphinx pops up, and he ends up doing something to where the whole world starts aging. Everybody starts aging quickly and stuff. And the Fantastic Four take off into space, and they're seeking out Galactus to come take on the Sphinx, so that he's the one to do it. Now, this was by Marv Wolfman, I think, and Sal Buscema. And I don't know if they had the same artist through the whole thing. John Byrne popped on here in issue 209. What else we got here? Yeah, John Byrne did the layouts in 210. So, there's some early Fantastic Four Byrne work and stuff, right? So here's 208, and as you can see, there's the UPC symbol has a slash through it, so that's probably a little bit more of a rarity. Okay, 209. And, it introduced Herbie in here in the books, too. That's what cracked me up. 210. I see this book everywhere. Some of these were upgrades. That's why I bought them. I probably got these real cheap. 211. Behold Terrax. Terrax pops up. It might be around his first appearance. I'm not sure. 212. Galactus, Clash of the Titans. Galactus and the Sphinx finally go at it. And you can see that the Fantastic Four started aging. Alright, it's also where I found out what a parsec was. Man, there's actually some real stuff in here. Fantastic Four, Terrax to the death. As you can see, they're still old. And 214. I don't know if that's the complete series. But I just found that just fascinating. They're traveling through time, they're through space. There's the tension's coming from they need to freaking hurry, and they don't know if Galactus will help because they're aging at the same time. You see everybody getting older and older, and just amazing. It was just really good stuff. Just fun stuff. Alright, this next one. I remember reading this one, man. I was like about 6, and I think my stepdad got these. And I have some of the original issues from there. And I still need to get 181 and 182. That was kind of where they were laying the groundwork for the story to pop up, man. I think it's called Yesterday's Quest. I don't know what the actual title is, but it's a John Byrne again, man. And I think Mark Grunwald and everybody jumped on this one. Dave Michelney, who all did the plotting? Mark Grunwald, Stephen Grant, David Michelney, John Byrne comes on there, Dan Green inks. Okay, but basically, it's this is a three-part story called Yesterday's Quest, which is what I'm going to call it, where basically Scarlet Witch ends up going to Wundagore Mountain to find out her origins again. There's something going on, man. Mordred pops up. Quicksilver goes and chase. The Avengers go and chase, trying to find her, see what's going on. You know, what really hooked me was the last page where we kind of met this nanny, who's a bovine person. And Wundagore Mountain is where the High Evolutionary hung out. I don't think he appears in this stuff. And he made the Knights of Wundagore, which is where he evolved animals and made them knights like Camelot knights, going back to some great Kirby stuff. I think it was back in Thor and stuff, right? And Mordred pops up and starts messing with Scarlet Witch's mind, exposes her to the book of. See, I keep wanting to say Cthulhu, and that's not right. It's Chthon, C-T-H-O-N, and it turns her evil. I think she gets possessed and stuff, right? Yeah. She actually becomes this, Chthon is what it's called. She more or less gets possessed, and we have one of our evil incarnations of the Scarlet Witch and stuff. Just messes everybody up, and it's got this kind of had like a little bit of a, it was very strange, man. It actually had kind of like a Universal Monsters appeal with the town being so. I don't know, late 1900s. You can see people with pitchforks and all this stuff hanging out in the inns, and then like the Avengers come in and the Beast ends up like the Quinjet blows up. Wonder Man pilots it down because he's everybody else takes off. They get separated in the forest and stuff, and on the side of the mountain. And I remember Beast found, he looks over there and there's a knight. And he takes it off, and you can tell the skull's not human. He ends up taking the mechanical horse that it rides, and all of a sudden, man, you got the Beast wearing the armor, and he's become one of the Knights of Wundagore. It's really cool stuff, man. And this is just a classic cover with all this stuff too, man. I was just fascinated, man. Ends up one of the people from the town that Quicksilver runs around with has it's like a little marionette doll of the Scarlet Witch, and it's got the soul of his daughter in there, and he's able to use that little doll to help save the day, if you will. And the last panel is this little marionette wooden doll, looks like Scarlet Witch, and has little circles on her cheeks, just like no, and something happens. I was just like, wow. 6 years old, that blew my mind. All right. Then we got a little bit older and stuff, and I'm trying to think when I read these. I know it was before Crisis came out, but I didn't read it when it came out. The Titans just weren't around town and stuff, man. But I've always had a thing for the Doom Patrol and stuff, right? So, Marv Wolfman and George Perez, this is issue 13. Oh, looks like I'm missing one. It's 13, 14, and 15, man. But it was the quest for the Doom Patrol. Changeling used to be a member of the Doom Patrol and all this stuff. They ended up finding a robot man all chained up, and they brought in the Brotherhood of Evil and stuff. The George Perez designs the new one and stuff, and just amazing stuff, man. This just blew me away seeing all this come about and stuff. And Marv Wolfman did it straight too, man. It's just so good. That's one of my favorite Titan little arcs there and stuff. And then there comes to the point where this was probably the first book I traded for, and I don't know what I traded to get it, but that's when I found out I did not like trading. It was like I wanted that book and my book, but it wasn't a selfish thing. I think it's the idea that I didn't realize I was a collector. You know what I mean? Like, you want to keep it for your collection. You want to keep it on down the line. But anyway, I got this. And I'm probably going to do a video about how I got this, because anybody that's watched my videos, or even for you new people that don't know, all this stuff jars memories for me. I'm serious. I think about 90% of the stuff I can tell you what was going on at that point in my life, where I was at. And this makes me think of my friend that I ended up getting this from. And I know it was in 4th grade, so I was 9 or 10, so this is probably like 82 or 83. And this book came out in 1981, but it's Justice League 195, okay? And this was where the Ultra Humanite ended up getting the villains of Earth 1, the villains of Earth 2 to come in. They started systematically taking out certain members of the Justice League and the GSA to mess up the vibrational frequency between Earth 1 and Earth 2 so he could take over. And of course, he's also going to, like, turn on the bad guys too. But what was amazing about this whole story arc is that I've upgraded him. What's amazing about this whole story arc, it's George Perez art, is that, Ultra Humanoid ends up taking them on. But the amazing thing is that it's all about the villains. You're seeing the villains interact with each other, and Ultra Humanoid how he is. And at the very end, the heroes get free and save the day, but it wasn't about them. Okay? So that's Justice League of America 195 to 197. Absolute gold, I think. Moving on. And then, this is where I bought these, for a fact. This is when I was already getting All-Star Squadron back then. And I always got the team books, but you got more bang for your buck. I was a cheap little bastard even back then and stuff. But this blew my mind, and here's the original one. This is this is where I got introduced to the Crime Syndicate. The only evil versions of the heroes that I've ever seen were in a Super Friends cartoon. But the Crime Syndicate came in. I love that border cover, and as it says, book one, Crisis on Earth Prime. And you see the All-Star Squadron there, so you get a hint they're in it, and then Justice Society. But they were doing yearly crossover events, guest starring roles with the JSA anyway. And all of a sudden you get to the end, and you find out this thing's going to be this is going to be continued in All-Star Squadron because they come out on the last page, man. So you find out it's a per Degaton story. He's changed time, and all this stuff's going on. Just a great story. So here's book one. We got Perez covers, and then we have Kubrick covers on the All-Star Squadron stuff. All right, and it just blew my mind as a kid because this was still a rare thing back in the day. Crossovers like this. And if you look real close, man, you can actually take the pages, the covers, and look on the borders, and you kind of see sort of a slight animation of the heads and stuff moving, or their mouths getting wider and more shot. Book 4. Is that all of them? Oh yeah. And book 5. Just absolutely love this, right? And it even, I even bought the Captain Carrot stuff where they mock the cover and stuff. Just a lot of animals in the zoo crew. Great stuff there. All right, and then like I said, I was already reading All-Star Squadron, and I was digging it and stuff, and and then all of a sudden this story came out. I don't even know if these are in order. I think I got them backwards. Yeah. Okay, and it had this big 2-page spread in it that just blew my mind. All these heroes were together. Something was going on. You start figuring out that this is the real formation of All-Star Squadron that the president during World War II had asked, and it had these 2 big splash pages with all these heroes in the same room, these Golden Age heroes, and it was just 2 pages, man. I'll be sitting there. You started eyeballing how the Manhunter from one comic book company back then was eyeballing that Manhunter, and it was just amazing seeing all these Golden Age characters together. And then Roy Thomas did little editorials telling you who worked for what company, and you start finding out that and that's my original. This is bought off the shelf back in '84. I think it was January of '84, and then here's my upgrades. But the first time I met Roy Thomas back in the early 2000s or something like that, I got him to sign all of these. So I didn't want to sign the upgrades. I wanted to sign the ones that I carried around. So there's that. And Uncle Sam pops up and he's talking about this world, and they got all the quality. Was it Quality or Fawcett? Anyway, the company in the 40s that owned all these characters, you're actually seeing they're going to dub it Earth X and bring back the Freedom Fighters who had a book in the 70s and stuff like that. And you're actually seeing the formation of the Freedom Fighters all over again, in the pages of All-Star Squadron, going to Earth X. These heroes were there, and they decided they're going to go with them. Everybody else was standing around when Uncle Sam popped up and told them, there's a terrible thing going on over here on this plane. Everybody's like, we got to take care of this one, we got to take care of that one. Our place is here, and these people all jumped up and said, we'll go with you. And I think he said that they had a hero that was trapped over there, and I think this was like the death of the Red Bee. When they got over there, they found Our Man or something, So Just great, great stuff, man. I was just like all these heroes and fascinated and stuff, right? Alright, so as time went on and stuff, I was a Legion fan. But the stuff I read was the Silver Age Legion, and then I'd read a few Bronze Age Legion. Right there at the tail end of Shooter leaving, and then Cochrane coming on, and there's some Mike Grell in there. I mean, these things were just laying around and stuff. But my Legion was the Silver Age Legion. I'm still a fan of the Kurt Swan stuff back then and stuff. I still think that stuff's just spectacular. But anyway, so this was like, then all of a sudden, the Legion of Superheroes 300, I found that, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I saw how Keith Giffen and Paul Levitz and all them had updated this stuff. Then they did a Baxter series, and I actually loved this because this was just a big throwdown between the Legion of Superheroes and the Legion of Supervillains, their opposites and stuff. This was freaking spectacular, and I read them, I think I read them. What they did is when they started the Baxter series with Teen Titans and the Legion and stuff, these were only in comic book shops, and then I think they ran a year ahead of the newsstand edition. So the newsstand would come out on different paper with new covers and stuff. And I still have those somewhere, but I ended up getting the Legion issues. And yes, we have a death of a Legionnaire and all this stuff. They got these things in hardbacks and trades, but these books are so cheap. I don't think it justifies getting a trade unless you're just one of those people. All right. And then the Titans, man, again with the Titans and stuff. I mean, these Perez's artwork did it for me. Now, I first read it in this. This is where the Baxter series has started, and we had a bunch of issues with Edward Barato. I can't remember how to say his name. Anyway, they had another guy doing some issues of the Teen Titans on the newsstand, and you started hearing about this Baxter series, and you would see ads and checklists and stuff talking about it being in comic book shops and stuff, and there was no comic book shop around. So I got these issues, but it was the start of getting some more Perez back, and it was finally the showdown with Triton, Raven's dad. You see him there. I hate the new design there, and man, you open this thing up and Perez new, he kicked off that Baxter series big time, man. I think he did the inks and everything, and it's just every page is just great. It's got them training, it's got Jericho going at it and stuff, it's got Raven coming on. And what was cool about it is a fan had noticed how Perez had been doing the evolution of Raven's look since like issue 1, and after Perez tied it in, they were talking about her cheekbones sunk in, and what Perez did is he got to know these characters, because there's an actual page in this where they do a seance, and there's a bunch of panels where you just see their eyes, and they're all lined up beside each other, and Perez got to know these characters so well and defined them so well, you could tell who everybody was just by how their eyes looked. You identify them by their eyes. So what they did is, after this fan or somebody had pointed out the fact that Raven's look had changed, they made it part of leading up to Triton coming, that she was becoming more and more like her dad and stuff. She ended up getting right there. And they went back and they showed panels and what issue number there was showing Raven progressing and stuff. So this was like 4 or 5 years in the making. Absolutely great stuff, man. Bodies making up the face of Triton, and is it Triton or Triton? It should be Triton. Yeah, here I'm going blank. Yeah, and then the aftermath and stuff. So that was a good one too. All this stuff I know is from the 80s and stuff. All right, and we didn't know the Crisis was coming, okay? And I'm not saying go out and get, but for me it just fascinated me, right? I've replaced a bunch of the issues and stuff. But basically this started in, for me it started in Flash 325. And I could never find Flash 324. But what happens is I think on the wedding day of Flash and Iris and stuff, the Reverse Flash Professor Zoom pops up and he's doing it. Flash is chasing him and he's telling him what he's going to do, and he's going right at Iris and he's getting ready to kill her, and Flash reaches out, tries to stop him, and breaks his neck and all this stuff, right? So in this issue, this is what blew me away. I still got the original somewhere. This is it's tore all to bits and stuff, but I was just fascinated with, oh my God, Flash looks like he's really killed somebody, and you never saw a hero really go through, the chain of command with the law. That's the word. Be processed and stuff, right? And the rogues steal the body and have their own little funeral for him and stuff, and the Flash gets arrested. And you just didn't know where this was going. I'm sitting here thinking, he'll get off, though. He's a hero and all this stuff. Well, no. What happens is that he goes to trial, and he's got a jury of his peers, and he's running around Gorilla City hiding out, and he's getting plastic surgery to not look like Barry Allen anymore. And when it looks like they're about to let him off, somebody gets into the jury and changes everybody's mind. It turns out to be one of his foes and villains, and he's found guilty. And you're just like, what? And then they end the series with like 350, you know, found guilty of murder. I mean, I was just like, what the hell's going on here? You know, I mean, you just never saw anything like that, and it took 2 years to tell the story, and I was just real curious, like, you know, I've lost a bunch of issues, I mean, over the years and stuff. What's ironic is that I could never find 324 and 350, but I had everything in between, and now I can't find the ones I'm missing, and I got the two hardest ones I couldn't find. But it just was just a fascinating story at the time, and the reason and then the next time the Flash pops up is in Crisis on Infinite Earths, trying to ask for help with his hand out, he's turned into a skeleton, and you find out that, you know, he sacrificed himself to save 5 worlds, and Crisis on Infinite Earths #8 and stuff, and it's just wow. And Marv Wolfman always said there was a loophole to bring Barry Allen back if anybody could figure it out. I figured it out, I think, is that when he ends up in the future, which is where he was plucked from, he never said, where it's time travel, you never know how old or how long Barry Allen had been living in the future with Iris. And I think you could pull him back at any time. Did he live a long time? Was this a, 30-something Barry Allen, or was this a 50-some Barry Allen? He's got that speed force, Anyway, I digress. I'm rambling. The other thing I got is another Legion tie-in. Now, when John Byrne came on and rejuvenated Superman, a lot of people were like, oh, he Marvelized Superman, and I'm one of those people. I think he did a damn good job. I do. That man was a workhorse for, I don't know, what was it, on less than 2 years, and I think he's done. He ended up plotting or drawing or doing covers or anything that comes to around between probably 90 and 100 issues of Superman. I mean, the man got burnt out on him. Plus, there towards the end, he was doing a bi-monthly book for Marvel of Star Brand. I mean, this guy was a workhorse, and everything he did, I'm all for it, So he went out with a bang, in my opinion. This is one of those stories where if somebody's got an opinion on it, I am a little touchy on it, because I think he did a damn good job. Now, does that mean that's a personal thing? I'm not going to yell this is a classic or anything like that, but it was the Supergirl saga. All of a sudden, Superman is face-to-face with a Supergirl, and he ends up going to where... One of the things that Byrne did that I didn't really agree with was the fact that Superman was never Superboy. And he did a whole big story thing where he was trying to explain that when the Legion came back in time, Superman didn't remember him and things seemed different. He didn't remember him. And right when he tells him that he was never Superboy, Superboy does show up, the Silver Age Superboy. And, well... It turns out that the time trapper had stolen a slice of time so small you can't even call it a macrosecond. And he took that world and he shaped it and put in a fake Superboy and stuff to mess with the Legion and everything like that. So Superboy ends up sacrificing himself in Legion of Superheroes. And this was the follow-up of that story of what happened to that world. And it turns out that you get to see Lex Luthor trying to lead a resistance because 3 Kryptonians escaped from the Phantom Zone there. And they demolished the world. It's post-apocalyptic. They just sat there and I don't know what they did. They either drilled to the center of the earth and dried up the oceans or something. And there's this dome. And these are the last people. And they're all dressed like in Lex Luthor armor and stuff. Lex Luthor is a good guy in this. And he traded a fake Supergirl. And this Supergirl is actually going back to the Silver Age story where Lex Luthor and Clark were friends in high school, and Lex Luthor had created this new form of life. And there was a fire in the chemicals, and Superboy came in and blew it out, and it killed the life form, and the fumes made Lex Luthor lose his head, and he got all jealous, and he didn't want to be more famous than you, Superboy, and that's why he started hating him. Well, this is the life form. Since Superboy wasn't there to do that day, the life form ended up becoming Supergirl, and you see what it is, or he recreated it or something. I think he recreated the experiment. I don't know, something like that. He's got his hair in there. All right, and then the Peter David stuff, man. How many stories can I pick out of the Peter David Hulk run that were just great? But I went with this one. This is the Del Keown drawn one with Peter David, where Doc Samson sets the Hulk down, and he goes in there and he deals with his multi-personality disorder. And you start and Peter David came in with, like, it turns out that Bruce Banner was, his dad was abusive to him and his mom physically abusive. And the Green Hulk is the representation of him being childlike, wanting just to be left alone, like a little kid shutting his door, wanting to be left in his room. And then the Gray Hulk is him becoming an adolescent and having to deal with all the crap that his dad's put in his head and being with women and stuff. You get to see all of them together. And then something happens where he's trying to merge all of them. It's merge these personalities, and it works. They ended up like leaving you hanging with a feeling issue. And then you get to see the new Hulk where they're all merged, and this is what he was supposed to be to begin with. It turns out that he was never supposed to transform. Peter David tied it all the way back to Hulk's first appearance where he was gray, and then all of a sudden he was green. And it was really a color coding thing or something back in the day. They needed an easier color to work with that looked better in print, that's the way I remember it. And this is supposed to be what the Hulk is supposed to have been the whole time. Dr. Banner. The Dr. Banner Hulk, or whatever you want to call it. And Doc Samson even warns him, we just did years of therapy in an afternoon, and that's not right. We put a Band-Aid on a nuclear bomb or something, right? All right, so that's it. Thanks for hanging in there. There's my books, and I think it went pretty good. All right.